known for pushing the limits of sustainability in the notoriously wasteful fashion industry, outdoor apparel maker Patagonia is taking it a step further. Its founder, Yvon Chouinard, is handing over his $3 billion company to a charity whose main focus is protecting the environment. He made the announcement on the firm's website this week.
We need to find a way to put more money into fighting the crisis while keeping the company's values intact. Each year, the money we make after reinvesting in the business will be distributed as a dividend to help fight the crisis.
The unprecedented move comes amid the growing harm caused by global heating. Currently, the most acute crisis is the record-breaking flooding in Pakistan. That's killed more than 1,000 people and caused tens of billions of dollars in damage. It's the type of extreme weather that threatens many other communities. The UN says the global threat should be met by an equally widespread response.
So my message to world leaders gathering here is clear. Lower the temperature now. Don't flood the world today. Don't drown it tomorrow.
As these calls grow louder, governments and the private sector are acting with more urgency. In the US, the Biden administration says it's spending close to $1 billion to put charging stations for electric cars in 35 states.
The Great American Road Trip is going to be fully electrified. Whether you're driving coast to coast along I-10 or on I-75 here in Michigan, charging stations will be up and easy to find as gas stations are now.
Meanwhile, South Korea's electronics giant Samsung is investing $5 billion for climate-related efforts. That money will be spent making the firm's operations more efficient, developing environment-friendly materials, and making its products like phones and fridges easier to recycle.
Samsung Electronics will actively take part in activities to overcome the climate crisis through innovative technology such as ultra-low power products and recycling resources, and do our best to achieve carbon neutrality by 2050.
The International Energy Agency says global demand for coal, the world's dirtiest fuel, is set to hit a record high this year. And consumption of crude oil, another harmful fossil fuel, will be well above pre-pandemic levels by next year. It shows that even with the constant and often tragic reminders of the impact of global heating, the world's most powerful people aren't moving fast enough. Paolo Montecillo, TRT World.
For more, let's go to Niklas Hagelberg. He's the Climate Change Coordinator at the UN Environment Programme and joins us from Nairobi. Many thanks for being with us today. So we've just heard it in the package. The UN said the global threat of global heating should be met by an equally widespread response. Where do we stand in terms of this response and in terms of what the governments have done so far?
Good evening. Yes, so the science is clear. We're definitely at a situation where emissions have not peaked and greenhouse gas concentrations are continuously growing. In terms of the response, the ambition level that countries have put forward, that should increase sevenfold. And that could put us back on a trajectory to limiting global warming to 1.5 degrees. But that would also require that 100% of those, that ambition would be implemented. And currently, countries have also put in place strategies for fossil fuel production, and countries are planning to put in place 240% more coal than what would be aligned with 1.5 degree, 71% for gas, and 57% for oil. So we are not on track to meeting the Paris Agreement temperature goals of 1.5, and even we are shooting past 2 degrees.
Interesting. We'll go back to that in a minute. But in the meantime, how important is it that not only governments, but also companies now are putting forward measures to deal with these climate issues and to deal with these threats? And what sort of impact do you expect these measures will have?
So indeed, we do need progress across the board. We're looking at a society-wide decarbonization that is needed. So we need progress from governments putting in place the enabling conditions or the rules of the game, if you will. So helping with taxes and putting in place subsidies and so forth. And we then need individuals to demonstrate that we do want to have low carbon products, and we need to use our democratic votes to guide our leaders on what we need. But we do need the products, the solutions that private sector can put forward. So private sector is absolutely central to delivering the decarbonization.
Right, you just said we're not on track when it comes to the Paris Agreement. What can be done at this point? Also in light of the fact that we know that the consumption of crude oil and other harmful fossil fuels will be well above pre-pandemic levels by next year. How worrying is that?
Yes, so the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change has said that the emissions need to peak more or less immediately. And continuing investing and using fossil fuels is taking us the other way. And if we continue to invest in fossil fuels and using fossil fuels, we're locking us even further into the situations like we have seen now in 2022 with the climate hazards across the world, from droughts in China to floods in Pakistan and wildfires in Europe and US.
Niklas Hagelberg, many thanks for being with us today.
Thank you.